Is that your foot off the bed? I'm Janelle.
And I'm Lyurel. And welcome to Foot Off the Bed podcast.
Yeah, so I'm reared up for this episode. I don't know about you, because there's a lot to discuss. But before we go into it, I'm just like, there was a whole bunch of stuff on my mind in the weeks coming, especially with all the stuff that's happening in the news. So I was just like, let me get that out first in the calm stuff. And then I'll get to be angry in like the next 15 to 10. Or not 15 to 10, but for a whole hour.
Yeah.
But we both got new jobs. So now our schedule is changing. We don't know what that will entail yet, but probably not any major changes like recording days or whatever. Just maybe, recording from home, but that doesn't affect you guys. So it's fine. We'll go on ahead with everything that we've been doing.
I just know that like from the start it's going to be a little rocky, but once you get past July, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, because I think not my busiest month, but I think because of the training, I'm about to be super busy, so I'm just like...
Yeah, and I'm like, even though I work less hours now, I'm working like back-to-back days, and it's the whole weekend.
Yeah, I was like, damn, Thursday to Sunday or something like that?
No, it's Saturday to Tuesday.
I don't know where the fuck I got Thursday from.
But no, I think one of them was, it was like Thursday to Sunday, and then when they approved me, it changed to Saturday to Tuesday, and I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, man.
Either way, weekends are gonna be out for me for a while.
Right. Hopefully we can get it together, use one of these programs to remote record, but...
Yeah, because I'll still have, like, the daytime. I just work at night.
Yeah. But sadly, that means that we won't be able to record here at Gotham anymore.
As frequently, anyway.
Right. I'm like... kind of like recording here every other Monday.
Like the excitement of the trains.
Right. Guys, the train situation this morning was hella hectic to the point where I got here I got here right on the dot, but Lyurel was like...
See, it doesn't matter if Janelle's late because she lives here. It matters if I'm late.
Well, no, because the times that I was late, this happened too, where it was like we were 45 minutes late because the trains are all fucked up. And it's just like, all right. So now it was like, we have less time to record, but we'll get it done.
Yeah.
I think that just means cutting down chat time.
I just know, like, my head is, like, all over the place because there was so much happening over the weekend. Just not like, in the world, but, like, in my personal life. So I'm, like,
All right.
trying to get back into a regular headspace.
Yeah, you just gotta use this as a distraction.
Pretty much.
That's what hobbies are for.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of distractions, I try to distract myself from the news a lot because a lot of stuff has been pissing me off, but a lot of stuff has also been very sad. So Miami had a whole building collapse. Granted, it was a vacation home.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah. But apparently there's like 159 people unaccounted for, and so far there's been like 5 deaths from that collapse.
Okay, I remember when it first happened because I was at work.
Me too.
And it was like 4 a.m, and you just see the screen go blue, and it's like breaking news, and I was like, oh Lord. And I saw this collapse, and everyone was so clueless. They have no idea what happened.
Right.
And when they were first reporting, they were like, we don't know if anyone's in there. Like, they really did not know how many people lived in the building itself or in those apartments or whatever. And I think at the time they reported like 1 death. And I was like, damn. And they said it's the sound. There was a guy, I think he was like FBI or something, but he was dressed so casual, so I was like, but he was just relaying the information to the news people. Maybe he was like the sheriff or something. I don't know. But he had no idea what was going on either.
Yeah, because it just happened like out of nowhere. Like, granted, Miami has been like going underwater below sea level for like the longest. So that type of stuff is bound to happen, especially if you're closer to the beach. But it's just like that shit just literally happened out of nowhere. Like, there was no warning. There was no, oh yeah, this building isn't structurally sound. No, that shit just collapsed.
That was just so weird. It was like there was no explosion. There was no like earthquake. And the guy said it looked like there was an earthquake, but there wasn't.
Right.
And I was like, golly.
Yeah, there was like, it was just a sinkhole that just, and you can't predict the sinkhole.
And sinkholes are scary. Sinkholes are like rogue waves because they just show up.
See, nah.
And you can't do anything to prepare for them. You can't, it's just, boom, you just got to go through it.
I think that's why, like, I have a lot of, like, weird fears, but one of my biggest is, like, natural disaster. Like, dying from a natural disaster, I think I would lose my fucking mind. Like, just take me out.
I'd be afraid to have to survive a natural disaster.
Yeah, like, just, and I think part of my fear came from, like, seeing Katrina. And I'm just like, because I went to go visit with my mom and visit my family right after it happened. They weren't really affected by it. They got like flooding, but they're nowhere, like they're 3 hours out from New Orleans. So it didn't really affect them that much. But seeing New Orleans after that shit happened was like, oh my God. I'm terrified of the ocean now. Like, I still swim in the ocean, but I'm like, I can't live near a beach. I will literally, like, no.
I've seen too many disaster movies to want to live by the beach, even though it's gorgeous.
Right.
I would never do it.
I can't. I'm too scared. It would have to be like that place does not have any, like Barbados has no history of like hurricanes like that. Like, they have not had a hurricane in, like, I think it said like 50 something years.
See, I can't do that because that means the clock is ticking.
That's true.
What they were like, what the volcano, was it Mount St. Helens or whatever? The one that's in our country. They were like, or maybe it's Yellowstone.
I think Yellowstone.
They were
I feel like that was
Yellowstone hasn't erupted in such and such 100 years, and I was like, there you go.
And now you set off the clock. Timer's ticking down.
It's time,
bruh.
And I used to watch all those disaster movies too, like Volcano, Twister.
Cannot.
Remember the Day After Tomorrow?
Nope. Shit like that puts me on edge. I will be sitting there for 2 weeks like, bro, the world's gonna end. I just know it. And I'm gonna be alive for it. And I'm just gonna be in terror.
Here for the aftermath.
Bruh, no. Worst fear. Apocalypse. Worst fear. But in all seriousness, like, praying for those people because I really hope they don't report anymore. Because they said half the rooms were empty.
Yeah.
So it's like, hopefully, you know, nobody, like, not many more people come up, like, dead or missing or injured.
Yeah.
Just, sad.
So it's a crazy thing to happen in the middle of the night.
Yeah. And, like, the more stupid shit that's been happening, though, that kind of pissed me off was, I'm only laughing because I'm like, I cannot believe how ridiculous this world is. They put up a George Floyd statue in Minneapolis, and I was just like, he's not a fucking martyr. Like, he died, but he did not die for a cause or anything like that. He died because police don't know how to fucking chill out. Derek Chauvin literally killed that man along with the other officers who just stood by. They killed him. He did not die fighting for civil rights or anything. He died going on about his regular fucking day. So posting up a statue is doing what? We asked for reparations, not a fucking statue.
I saw like a post of like, or I think one of my friends went to go visit George Floyd Square. And I was sitting there like, not like, I understand where people are trying to come from, like, oh, you want to honor somebody or whatever, but like,
yeah,
sometimes what you do to honor them isn't what you should be doing to honor them,
right?
In a sense,
like that doesn't match up. That does what?
Right.
Besides, like, give us a reminder that
oh, this guy died here.
Right.
That's pretty much that's how I feel about
like,
it.
oh, police brutality is a thing. Word. Like, that's all that does. That's all that's giving.
Yeah.
And even with that too, like the whole like, oh, we're gonna make Juneteenth a federal holiday now. No offense, but I don't think white people should be off for that holiday. Like, that's not for you. That's for us, because this is we've been talking about Juneteenth for weeks, but I have not said what Juneteenth actually is. Basically, when the slaves were freed, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. In that time, there were still enslaved people who did not know that they were free yet.
Because they didn't have Facebook.
Right. So 4 months later, I believe,
somebody had to literally like come and tell them like, yo,
we're free. And that's what made Juneteenth. So
in Texas,
right,
you know, because all the Texans, they love to be like, we've been celebrating Juneteenth. Oh, okay,
right,
you got it.
Well, we didn't know about it, so now people across the diaspora are trying to, you know, celebrate it. But it was just a thing for us. It was not like, if you want to be educated as a person of color or a white person on Juneteenth, sure. Should you get the day off? No. Like, and that's just me saying that. I don't know what other people feel. Sorry if I offended you, but like, I don't think it should be a holiday. I think we asked for specific things, and you making it a holiday is not doing anything for us. Like, okay, we still get killed by police officers. We still get people saying stand your ground. We still get Karens calling the police on us and shit happening to us. Like, that's not doing anything. That's not doing anything.
I know I was super mad because I went to go like look up appointment schedules or whatever at DMV, and the first message that popped up was, we will not be in operation on Juneteenth as it is a federal holiday. I said, it just became one right 5 minutes ago.
And yet the organization that still has to work, that is the most like black employed type organization or company or whatever, is the fucking USPS and FedEx and all that shit, and they still had to work. That's fucked up. That is fucked up.
I just can't. It was too early.
Too early. And you know what made it even worse? Nancy Pelosi and these fucking black lawmakers singing "Lift Every Voice and Sing." That was embarrassing.
I'm glad I didn't look at that.
I just happened to see it. I don't know how I saw it, but when I saw it, I was like, "This is fucking stupid."
I wasn't at work that day. I was actually at home, so I wasn't watching the news.
Bruh, Nancy Pelosi, pandering ass, the woman who kneeled and wore a dashiki and thought she was doing something with her other white constituents, were sitting there thinking that singing the Black National Anthem was like, oh my God, we signed this into law. Juneteenth is a federal holiday, so let's all sing Kumbaya. Everything's fine now. Get the fuck out of here.
The amount of cringing.
I cringed so hard because I was like, look at her mouthing the fucking words. She probably learned that shit yesterday.
She's not even singing. We go to church, we know.
Right.
Who was singing? It was not singing.
I'm just like, oh God, this world is so fucking embarrassing.
That's too much.
I know the aliens looking down like, look at these goddamn ghetto ass people. But in brighter news, I'm loving all the Black Girl Magic that's coming out. Like, Sha'Carri Richardson, she's a track star that went to Louisiana State. And she made it to the Olympics. Yeah. And she is in her authentic blackness, just with her long ass nails, her 30-inch weave down her back with the color, and lashes and everything. Then when she got interviewed, I think yesterday, she was sporting her fro. I was like, yes, yes, sis, yes, sis.
Good. I didn't like how the commentator was like, while they were actually running, he was like, I want to say like there was judgment in how she was running, even though she won. He was like, oh, she's gonna have to start off much stronger at the beginning of the race, because I don't know, like it was somewhere along the lines of, she's not gonna cut it if keeps running the way she's
Yeah, I remember I heard that, and I was just like,
bro, she won.
Yeah, like,
how about you get down there and you run,
right?
And you show her how it's done.
You know, men always trying to mansplain.
They love doing that. I'm like, she just won, and then you said all of that, and you go over there to interview her, and she starts talking about how, like, she's been through a lot in her life, and she had just recently lost her mom too,
right?
And she was going through all this stuff in her life, and her family was there to support her, whatever. And the commentator gonna be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for it." Yeah.
Bet you
That's
are.
why she wasn't even looking at you. That's why she turned away and went straight to her
Right.
family.
I think he commented on that too. Like, we're trying to get an interview, but she's running off somewhere. It's like she's going to say, like,
she's not looking for
she's
you,
happy with her family. Fuck everybody else. Mm-hmm. You don't matter right now. I'll talk to you after. But let me go hug my grandmother, because I just found out I broke a fucking, like, not broke a record, but I got into the Olympics.
She made it.
Like, girl, then Gabby Thomas, she's a Harvard grad. First of all, I didn't even know about this girl neither, but I just read about her the other day, because she broke a record. She broke the record in the U.S. For the women's 200 meter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm, like, obsessed with her now, because she qualified for the Olympics too. But the only reason why I'm obsessed is because I was like, sis has a neurobiology degree. She's getting a master's in I fuck up on this word all the time, because every time I look at it, I'm about to say epidemiology. So I'm not going to say it, because I'm going to... Yeah, I'm still going to do it. So I'm just going to... But, yeah, she doing all of this, but then also running track and made it to the Olympics. Like, damn. You... Bruh.
It's too good. It's
too good. Too good.
There was also, what is that boy's name? Erison, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He made it into the Olympics as well. A black kid from, I don't remember where from. It was like me skimming through my Facebook and seeing all of these posts, and I'm like, oh my god! And then continue going, and I always forget the important details. But yeah, there's a lot of black magic happening. A lot of black people going into the Olympics.
Yeah, I love that. I love that for us. I did not want to end on a bad note, but have you heard about the Ronnie O'Neal thing?
No.
Oh my god. So he, just in, like, long story short, he was a father of two. One was his son, and I don't remember how old he is, but I think they said he was still in the single digits when this happened. So not quite preteen yet, not teen yet. And his autistic daughter. And yeah, he killed his wife and his autistic daughter, and then proceeded to represent himself in court to say that people were forging evidence against him, even though all the evidence was literally pointing to him and there was no way it could have been faked. And not only that, but his son testified against him. So he had to, like, cross-examine his son. Not even had to. He chose to cross-examine his son and tried to gaslight him into saying, I hurt you? And he's like, yes, you literally stabbed me.
I did hear about this. Like, I didn't know names, but I do remember this.
Yeah, and I was going to play the clip because it's just so... Matter of fact, I'm just going to play it real quick. Because I'm just like, yo, you're insane. How are you just doing this and not caring? Like, he just had no care in the world that he was, like, putting his son through this.
Ugh.
All just so he can get out of it.
Evidence is going to show that we are under.
He's literally talking to the jury and yelling.
What are you yelling for? There's nobody else talking.
Right.
Oh my god.
These dramatic pauses are killing me.
Ugh.
And his face. Look at him. Like, you... As soon as I would have heard that, you did it. You did it. Like, what is wrong with you? You did it. Like, please stop. And it's not even like... It's ha-ha funny because it's like, yo, you're really trying so hard to prove that you're not guilty. But it's also, like, very sad because it's, like, there's clearly nothing, like, mentally wrong with you enough to the point where you could plead insanity. It's just, there's something wrong. Like, you're crazy. You're insane if you think that you were going to get away with this and this was just going to be, like, a thing that we could just slide past. Like, as soon as you started talking, you're guilty. Like, I already made my decision.
I think the louder he is, the more innocent he is.
Right. And he looks crazy. Like, not because I'm not going to, like, start shitting on, you know, hair or whatever, black, especially not black hair on this fucking podcast. But, like, it's just with that, then, like, you're sitting there furrowing up your brows mad hard, yelling at the top of your lungs, and then also, like, your son is sitting there telling you, yeah, you stabbed me, when you had the audacity to ask him if you did it! You did it! There's no going back.
He probably would have had your back if you didn't stab him.
Right. Like, bro.
I can't. And it's just odd how well that fits into what we're going to talk about today.
Bruh, the gaslight.
That's odd.
So, before I let you go into that, I got obsessed with this song because I heard it on TikTok. So I'm just going to play this as an intro.
Oh, I hope this doesn't seem too impolite, but Ted Bundy was just never that fucking bright. He was just sort of charismatic and white, alright? And he was so fucking sure he had the right. But he's ugly, and I'm glad he's dead, 'cause there was no fucking candle in his pumpkin head.
Okay, I'm done.
Oh my God.
I love how petty that song was about serial killers. Basically, it's like a song. Well, it's by Penelope Scott. It's called Lot of True Crime. And she just goes in on, like, the idea of people glamorizing serial killers. And I think that's why I fucking hate Ted Bundy. Like, I hate all serial killers. I hate any murderer who, like, just does shit to torture people or do things to them just because they got angry or just wanted to just for fun, whatever. Whatever the case may be, I don't like them. But I hate Ted Bundy the most because of how many people try to act like he was just this great, amazing person and that he was cute. Where?
Oh my God. When this movie was first, like, announced,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw that they had Zac Efron playing him, I was like, that is the closest you will get to good looking ever.
Right. Because I'm like, Zac Efron is actually good looking. And y'all made him look like Ted Bundy because of his facial features, which do kind of fit. But Zac Efron is way more attractive.
I've never been so mad at anything in my life. Okay, so the movie we are discussing is Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile. It's a movie that came out in 2019, and it's an American biographical crime drama about the life of serial killer Ted Bundy. And it is, which I didn't know when I first started watching it, it's in the perspective of his former girlfriend, Elizabeth Kendall, because she came out with a memoir titled The Phantom Prince, My Life with Ted Bundy. I was mad from scene one. Because anything I hear about Ted Bundy, I feel like people try to make it out to be like this love story that kind of just slipped off the track.
Mm-hmm.
It just derailed a little bit. But I digress. So yeah, the movie starts off with a bar scene, and Elizabeth is in the bar with her friend, and I guess maybe she didn't want to be there or whatever, but her friend is like, that guy's been looking at you the whole night.
Bye.
And she turns around, and it's Ted Bundy's weirdo self staring at her. And he was a law student. Like, he was legitimately a law student. I really just thought that was something he made up.
No, he was.
I really did not know that. But yeah, so being a single mother, recently divorced, and a secretary, probably for somebody she don't really like that much, Elizabeth was, you know, this guy's nice, whatever, maybe I'll give him a chance or whatever. So, of course, the two begin dating, and he's all nice and helping her raise her daughter, and everything's kind of lovey-dovey for a while until there starts to be like news reports of women being murdered. They had a sketch artist do a sketch of the man who everybody thought they saw or whatever, and it looked just like him.
Mm-hmm.
It looked just
Literally just like him.
And what kills me the most is how many times this man said, "No, it's not me. No, I didn't do it." And I'm just like, I don't know. I get okay. So yeah, so he was seen by several people luring women to come help him put a boat onto his car.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how 2 women ended up disappearing, and they were later found to be murdered at a nearby lake. He was literally pretending to have a broken arm, going up to women to ask them to help them load a boat onto his buggy.
Yep.
The smallest car in the world. I'm going to put a boat on here.
Right. Like, okay.
And we were living that time where, like, yeah, it was like the 1974. So I'm like, women wouldn't do that. Like,
No.
if a normal guy would go up to another guy or a group of guys and be like, "Can y'all help me?"
Right.
Not, "Hey, this woman here, let me."
Yeah, like I'd be like,
anything,
"You think I can help you push a boat?" Okay. You must think I'm Boo Boo the Fool.
After those women were murdered and the sketch was out, hundreds of people were calling in and saying, "Oh, I saw this guy, I saw this guy, I saw this guy," until eventually Ted is arrested because he's driving in, was it Utah? And he's running through stop signs because his thirsty self probably looking for somebody else to kill. And the police stopped him and he got arrested under the pretense of the stop signs, but the police officer was like, "No, but it's so much more than that." So that was like what, his first time in jail.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm trying to remember what happened. He he gets out of jail on bail, and he comes back home to see Elizabeth, and she was like, "Where were you?" And no, before he could even say anything, she slaps him.
Yeah, that should have me weak.
She slapped the mess out of him. He was starting to cuss.
What the fuck was that for?
In front of the daughter. And she picks up the newspaper and she's like, "Hello, you were arrested?" And I'm gonna tell you why this scene makes me so mad a little later though. But he was like, "Yeah, it was by accident. Like, they didn't know they had the wrong guy, blah, blah. A lot of people look like this, whatever." And she was like, okay.
Right.
The typical, "I don't trust you. Oh, no, I don't believe you, but I'm going to trust it right now." But yeah. So, after a 4-day bench trial, he's found guilty of aggravated kidnapping and sentenced to serve a minimum of 1 to a maximum of 15 years in Utah State Prison. For, it was for the 2 girls.
For the kidnapping?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few weeks later, Colorado authorities charged Ted with the murder of Karen Campbell, and he is transferred to Colorado in 1977.
Mm-hmm.
And Liz refuses to believe Ted is guilty. And those events start to take a toll on her because she's really like, "No, I'm gonna believe him.
Because he's also trying to tell her, like, just believe in me. Just believe in me.
That too, yeah. Just he can just talk and people are just like, "Oh, okay, yeah."
Right.
It's so... but all of the stress causes her to start drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And her friend is like, "Whoa, like, you gotta let this man go."
Right.
That was a good friend for her. I don't remember her name. But she was a very good friend. It's always the friends that get, like, kicked out of the house or
Right.
get pushed off. Those are the good friends.
Because I'm going to say what you need to hear, not
Right.
what you want to hear.
So, while Bundy is on trial, he insists that he is not getting the best representation in the court. So he decides to represent himself because he's a law student. And these idiots, they're like, oh, okay, he's a lawyer now, so we'll just take his shackles off and everything. He can walk around and do whatever he wants. And we'll keep our eye on him. And sure enough, it showed in the movie that the court officer was sitting here trying to talk to a girl who was definitely way underage and was clearly only there to see Bundy, not this man. And so while he's laughing it up, Bundy just jumps through the window and he dips.
That shit got me so mad.
It took them 4 days to find him. I was like, first of all, he's got great knees and ankles. Second of all, I'm so proud of that black lady for being like, is it normal for people to jump up?
Right. She was like, hold up, what the hell? And he went that way. Because I don't know what the fuck he did, but if he bold enough to run away from the cops, then...
He jumped out of a second-story window and ran through the mountains. It was 6 days. I thought it was 4. He was gone for 6 days. So then he gets arrested. He's back in jail again. And Elizabeth visits him to end their relationship. And he, of course, isn't letting her go. Because he knows she isn't really letting him go. Which is a whole thing in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And he escapes again after sawing a hole in the ceiling and just crawling out of it. I thought that was so...
I'm like, if this man has a history of literally running away, why don't y'all put him in solitary confinement?
They're just so, like, lazy, it seemed. Like, yeah, you've got a prison here, but nobody's watching anyone. Like, he was able to saw through concrete and metal.
Bruh.
To remove a piece of the ceiling. And no one saw it through that? He just never had a bunkmate ever?
Nope.
I cannot. So yeah, after he escapes through crawling through the ceiling, he goes to a sorority house where he murders 2 girls. And it's just so brutal because he had like a piece of oak or something, and it was just blood everywhere. And
yeah, when they showed some of those images, I was like, okay, this is a little too real for me.
Because I know I saw a lot more of those images because I was watching like I had watched the other documentary.
Yeah, I had wanted to rewatch it, but I was like,
it's too much.
Yeah.
That makes me more angry than the movie did.
Yeah.
And just so much worse.
And before, I had watched the movie, and then right after watching the documentary, and yeah, I did get even more angry, because I was like, no, this was real. Like, all of this shit is happening. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. The whole time I was like, you gotta be kidding. But yeah, so the women at the sorority house were attacked, and then he killed a few others, and he got arrested again. I think in that scene he was like driving away, and the officer pulls him over, and as he's like, oh yeah, I'll reach for my wallet, he punches the guy in the gut and then runs off, and the officer's chasing after him. So yeah, boom, he's back in prison. And of course he's still trying to talk to Liz or Elizabeth, whichever you want to say. And what's funny is he keeps trying to tell her about this book called Papillon. There was actually a movie titled the same about is a guy is wrongfully accused and he's trying to escape this prison, but this prison is like the worst prison. And it was him and a couple other people who were like plotting their escape. And man, I watched it only one time, but I think it was a really good movie. It had a happy ending anyway. But yeah, he was basically telling her that she needs to read this book because he thinks it relates to him. like, oh, he's really innocent and everybody's just trying to frame him and all this other stuff. And if she reads the book, she'll understand or whatever. I don't even think she finished the whole book. I think she got through, like, she didn't even get halfway, it looked like.
Yeah.
He's talking about, oh, I read it 4 times. Bro. Anyway. So, yeah, during his trials, Ted Bundy gains a following of women who are fascinated by him. Women who claim to be in love with him and want to marry him or have his kids, blah, blah. And he meets Carol Ann Boone, who believes he is innocent, and she even moved to Florida to be close to him during his murder trial.
What was she an ex before? I feel like that's what they. Now I'm like,
she was an old friend apparently.
Yeah, because I'm like, he almost looked like he didn't recognize her, but then it was like the way they were talking made it sound like they had dated once. But I don't remember if that's what they said in the documentary, that they had dated before and then just, or a friend, and then I can't even remember. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know she's thirsty.
Thirsty as hell.
To move all the way to Florida, gosh.
Not even just thirsty. You obsessed. Like, what is wrong with you?
Too much. They were trying, the prosecution, that's that word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Prosecutor was trying to do a plea bargain with Bundy to where if he admitted he was guilty, he could serve 75 years in prison instead of getting the death penalty. But of course, Ted is like, I don't need this. I'm not going to accept this because I'm innocent. And everybody in the room is like, bruh, no, you're not. Everybody in this room knows you are not. And we're trying to give you a break. Which they shouldn't have even tried to do that. But, you know, whatever.
I think what pissed me off the most about all of those trial scenes and, like, the real scenes from the documentary was him and the judge just going back and forth like this is just a fucking game show or a talk show that they have, and bantering back and forth like it's just play. And it's like, this is a murder trial. What is wrong with y'all? Like, even when, I don't even know if he was about to mention that part, but when he, like, proposed to Carol Ann in court, I'm like, yo, that should have been, I'm throwing you in jail now. Like,
I hate that he did know enough of the law to be able to do stupidness like that.
Right.
And I hate that it just seemed like a comedy sitcom or whatever every time they were in the courtroom. And the judge was all right with it.
Mm-hmm. Didn't let none of the jokes or anything get reprimanded. Like, I mean, I know he's supposed to be neutral, but it's like he wasn't being neutral.
Nope. Not at all. Not at all. Especially in a murder trial.
Like, what?
But yeah, so he's continuing to reach out for Liz, who's trying to avoid him as much as possible, but she's watching everything on the news. And she reveals to this guy that she had been seeing that she feels guilty for Ted being in this whole situation because she was the one who gave his name to the authorities that led to his first arrest.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy she was seeing was like, no, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. It's just crazy how he had such a psychological hold on her.
Right.
And you wouldn't think so, but, like, he was literally there helping her raise her kid, and she felt like she could really trust him. And being a single mom and recently divorced, I guess that was just, like, the vulnerability that he needed to, like, grab hold and
yeah, because the only thing that pissed me off about her was that off first meet, she let him in the house with her kid in the house. And then right after that, they start a relationship. You barely know this man. Mm-hmm. What the fuck? But otherwise, I'm like, I could see how if you see this one view of this person, trying to see this other side, mm-hmm. like, he manipulated the fuck out of her.
Yeah, he did.
To the point where it's just like, she cannot believe that he is that person that she's seeing on the news. It's just like, I felt so bad for her, but at the same time, I was like, bitch, why the fuck did you let him in the house?
And what got to me, though, was like, He's steady sitting here talking about how much he loves Liz and all this other stuff, but you've seen this other woman regularly.
Because he's trying to use her.
It's like,
She's willing to do anything.
That's true. But yeah, like you said, he ends up proposing to Carol Ann in court. And he's like, oh yeah, it's legal. And the judge is like, yeah, he's right.
Like, oh my God. I know that prosecutor was pissed because he was just like, what the fuck is going on?
It's like, they don't teach you this in law school. Oh my God. So yes. Incriminating physical evidence is provided in court, including a match of a plaster cast of Ted's teeth to the impressions of bite wounds left on the butts of Lisa Levy? Or
Levy.
And in under 7 hours, the jury convicts Ted of the murders of Lisa Levy and Margaret Bowman. Yeah. 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder and 2 counts of burglary. Trial Judge Edward Cowart imposes death sentence for the murder convictions to be carried out with execution by electrocution. And 10 years later, Liz receives a letter from Ted and visits him, taking a photograph given to her by a detective. She demands the truth, but Ted continues to deny having anything to do with the murders and proclaims his innocence, which is so annoying.
Right.
Like, bruh, give it up. She then shows Ted the photograph, a crime scene image of one of his decapitated victims, and he finally admits that he sawed her head off by writing the word hacksaw in the condensation on the visiting room window that separates them. That was so...
But that's how you know, like, he's not insane. He knows exactly what the fuck he's doing, enough to hide it. Like, he knew not to say that shit out loud or tell her. He was just like, I'm gonna write it so they can't hear what I'm saying.
Yep. And Elizabeth leaves the prison in shock. And she's like, wow. Like, all this time, wow. And she leaves the prison, but she's met with her new husband and her daughter, who's now a teenager, which kind of puts in perspective how long this has been going on.
Right.
And she finally says that she's okay. And as the film ends, archival footage and on-screen text say that Ted was executed in January of 1989, aged 42 years old. Ted had confessed to over 30 murders days before his execution, and his ashes were scattered in the Cascade Mountains where he had deposited the remains of numerous victims. I would have threw his ashes in the trash.
Yeah, I'm like, the fact that y'all honored...
like, oh, his final wit. No.
Like, over their bodies where he disposed of them? Fuck you. I'm not...
That's so
You're not going to be buried with them. You're not. You're just not. That pissed me off.
As soon as I read that on screen, I was like, no.
Yeah, I would have been like...
I'm about to go to the Cascade Mountains and pick up every ash by myself.
All right, like, you're going in the incinerator again and turning into dust in the wind because I don't give a fuck.
There's so much to dislike that my head isn't working properly.
Yeah.
Because it's too much. First of all, this man brutally murdered, but not like, oh, okay, he snapped somebody next door, he snapped one person. No, these were brutal murders. And he was just walking around with a smile on his face, a little Joel Osteen voice he put on or whatever, whenever he spoke to anybody. And I'm like, this man is a killer. And y'all was sitting here, like, having tea together and stuff. Like, it's okay.
Right.
Man's on death row, and there's, like, crowds of people outside. Well, granted, a lot of the crowds were people who wanted to watch him die. But there were other crowds of, like, women, mostly, who were like, oh, he's innocent, blah, blah, blah.
I love him. I'm just in love with him. Shut
And then he had the conversation. I forget if he was talking to, like, a priest or whoever. But they were like, oh, you know, you're a really nice guy or whatever. Like, he atoned or what. I feel like in the documentary they said something about him, like, going into, like, religion or whatever. But I was just like, this is...
He just did that. I get, like, you know, you can believe what you want or whatever as far as, like, hell, heaven. I have my own opinions about that stuff, but he obviously believed in some sort of hell or some sort of retribution in the afterlife because he just decides to all of a sudden turn to religion. Like, goodbye.
He just trying anything to escape any kind of punishment for what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's how you know you did, like, horrible things if you can't even... If you don't want to face the consequences of it.
Right.
Oh, my God.
So what would you give this movie a scale of 1 to 10?
I mean, it did what it was supposed to do. It made me mad right off the bat. Zac Efron, he did the thing.
Yeah, he played the hell out of that role because I was mad.
I was mad.
Anytime like an actor plays a character and you piss me off, I know you did a good job.
And you're supposed to.
Right, you're supposed to piss me off. You did a good job.
Yes. I mean, I'll give it like an 8 for what it was. It told the story from the perspective of his girlfriend. Some things she possibly could not have known, but, you know, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, so the part with her slapping him after she showed the newspaper that he got arrested, I was like, how are you getting mad at him when you're the one who called the police and was like, look out for him?
Yeah, because I was like, did she call? That's what I was confused about. Like, when did she call?
She called before he got arrested. Like, she called because, like, when they first released the sketch of the guy that everybody saw, she immediately called and was like, oh, this looks like, you know, my boyfriend a little bit, like, it's minor. And the police officer was like, it's probably not even him, whatever, but give me his name if that'll help you sleep at night. And she was like, okay, Ted Bundy. And he was just driving around Utah, and the second the police officer asked for his license and stuff, he saw the name, and I guess he remembered that call and was like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. I love the moment when she confronted him about the crime scene photo, when she was like, let me go. I'm the one that told police. I'm the one that reported you, and that's why you got arrested. His face is just like, bitch.
Not you. Not anyone but you.
It was just like, oh my God.
Bro, after all you did and all the women you slept with, like, bro, all the times you slept with one other woman.
Right. I'd give it a solid 9. Because, like you said, it did what it needed to do, but I think some of the best parts of it were just how Zac Efron was just able to, like, really commit to that fucking role.
Mm-hmm.
And then just the story itself, like, it pretty much followed the documentary without giving away too many of the gruesome details. It just gave the story of, like, how he was able to manipulate her so well that she stood by him for most of it until it got, like, extreme. Like, wait, now you're just always in these situations? You're fucking lying.
Yeah.
But it was so hard for her to let go of it. Not, like, she was able to distance herself, but she wasn't able to fully let go because of how easily he made her fall in love with him.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, too, was that it made me think more about, like, kind of like the BTK killer, which is how was he able to, like, hide this part of himself from her? Like, he never tried to kill her. And she asked him, too. She said, did you ever try to kill me? And he kind of rolled his eyes, like, no, of course I didn't try to kill you. But it's like, but it's not, like, impossible that you would have tried.
That's what's so weird about it, because I was thinking the same thing, like, with Elizabeth, because I was like, the night that you brought him home, he could have killed you right then and there.
Right.
And your kid.
And I think that's why I got so mad, maybe because I knew, like, well, not even just because I knew it was Ted Bundy, but just, like, on the first night you meeting somebody, you bringing him into your house while you have a kid? Like, at least say, can I go to your house?
Mm-hmm.
Part of me also feels like maybe he was homeless. I don't know if he was actually homeless, but I was like, I find it weird that he didn't invite her back to his. And, because I'm like, I don't know, like, if his intention was to kill her, he would have just taken her somewhere else. He'd be like, oh, we can go somewhere else. But he went to her house and didn't touch her. That's what confused the fuck out of me. Like, I was like, maybe he just needs this as a front. Like, I gotta look like I have this good image, not some single man that's just like always walking around everywhere.
I don't know. You know, it's hard to say. And some from what I've heard or whatever, like some killers or whatever, they do want to have that like double life to like cover up the other side. Or like the BTK killer, he wanted to have that life so that everyone could know him as this instead of this killer who does, but he wanted to be known as a killer too, so it was kind of weird.
Yeah, it's like, why did you want to be known as a killer if you literally were trying to do everything in your power to not get caught?
Right, like you came up with these blueprints to hide stuff in your crawl space and all this other stuff, but you want the recognition for killing people. Like, I don't...
Yeah, and it's not like he tried to... You know how BTK Killer created a pseudonym and stuff like that. It's not like he left little clues for officers to be like, hey, it was me. I did it. It was just...
This man was sloppy. I think that's what makes it worse. He was so sloppy, and he just didn't care what he did because he knew somehow he was going to get out of it.
Right. And that's what pisses me off. The fact that people are like, oh, yeah, he was so smart. No, this man made tons of mistakes. It's just, I'm sorry to say it, but half of these officers were so fucking stupid that they were just like, oh, yeah, it's okay. And then people are just letting him get away with shit. Like, he's escaping every 2 seconds. The bailiff in that courtroom pissed me off even more because you know this man is on trial for murder and you just left him in a room to talk on the phone. Like, that's how good he is at swindling all of you.
And then she didn't even pick up. That was the funniest part to me. But I'm like, he got by because of the absence of fingerprint or DNA testing and the lack of cameras.
Right.
Because, like, maybe there were cameras or wherever, but not like how cameras are around now. So he just basically got away because he got lucky.
Yeah.
Each time.
And I'm like, yeah, he was lucky that it was the 70s because if he was doing all that stupid shit now, he would have been got caught. First murder.
First time.
First murder. He's done. He's done for.
He would not be in no bar. Nobody.
I think what also, besides just women getting caught up, because I'm not gonna, victim blame or anything. I just find that in the 70s, people were a little bit too trusting, but it was the times. I'm not gonna, say all of them were stupid. Maybe they just kind of got caught up by his stupid charm, thought he was cute, don't know how, but, if somebody's cute, you're gonna give them a little bit more attention or niceness or kindness.
There's a lot of different factors that play into it too. But
then and also he's just really good at being quote unquote charming, but for a white man, I guess. But I hated that the judge said that shit when he got sentenced. Like, he's just like, you would have been a great presence in the courtroom. I would have loved for you to work in my courtroom. And it's just a waste of humanity to see that this is how you turned out. Cause you seem like a really good guy. He seems like a really good guy, huh? Murdering tons of women. Okay, sure.
Because he cracked like 2 jokes.
Right. Cause he knew how to be charming, and you just ate that shit up. That shit was laughable.
I still don't understand how you could say that as a judge when you're looking at all of this evidence of him brutally killing women. And you're just like, oh, you're a really good guy.
He sawed a woman's head off. He bit the buttocks of Lisa Levy and Margaret Bowman. Mm-hmm. Smashed another girl's head in. I think she was asleep, though.
Yeah.
And then just a whole bunch of stories of him just doing this brutal stuff. You're like, oh, waste of humanity. You could have been good. Shut the fuck up. Shut up.
It's just, it makes me so mad every time.
Every time and that's why I get so mad now when I think the whole thing that I hate about true crime culture, because I love true crime. I like watching it because I'm interested in what the fuck makes these people do these things. Mm-hmm. or if they just snapped. Like, what? It's just weird to me, but interesting. But I really hate, the one thing about true crime culture is that people sensationalize these fucking killers and be like, oh, which serial killer would you have sex with?
Oh my God.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Oh my God.
Who would you rather get killed by? Bitch, why don't you die right now?
That's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. I mean, the furthest I've ever even looked at in that sense was the one that's like the serial killer list and their zodiac signs. Mm-hmm. That's as far as like,
yeah, because that's interesting. It's like, if you're into astrology, you're like, damn, all these Virgos, all these Geminis.
It's like me as a Virgo looking at all these Virgos on the list like,
like, damn, what is it? What in the stars aligned at this moment that made you?
Sometimes it just, the snap happens and you can't control it. I get it. I'm kidding. But yeah, I was just like, and I'm thinking like people like Ed Gein and what is that man's name? It's right on the tip. Andrew Cunanan. Mm-hmm. I'm like, Virgo, boom. I'm sorry, I apologize on behalf of my sign.
I'm weak. But no, it's just, I get very annoyed by that, because, and I don't mean actually die, but, you know, like, it's just, shut the fuck up, because you're being disrespectful to the victims. Mm-hmm. And you're putting out the message there. I'm not saying that everybody is easily influenced, but you're putting the message out there that, oh, if somebody's cute, it's okay. Like,
it's just like you're doing the exact same thing that these women were doing at the Bundy trials.
Right.
Like, holding posters, screaming his name, telling them how much they love him, all that stuff. Like, it's the same, it's kind of the same vein there.
And I feel like it's almost like a sign of, like, not that any of those, I'm not going to assume that any of those women were abused or anything, but it's almost like that savior complex, like, oh, I can fix him. And then they get into the relationship and he abuses the fuck out of them and they're like, where did I go wrong? Mm-hmm. You got involved with somebody who showed you exactly who he was. And I think that's what they're doing with, I think I can save him. No, you can't. You cannot. You can't.
No.
He's just gonna kill you. Ugh, I fucking hate it. We just got the sign that we can go to 150, so yeah, I'm gonna drag it.
Oh.
Told you they love us here. So I guess after I do my thing, if you have any more to add about the Ted Bundy stories, you got it. You got the floor.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a really good movie. It definitely angered me the same way it did about the real life story, because they followed it down almost to a T. So if you haven't watched it yet, it's on Netflix, still streaming. I don't know where else, but it's on Netflix for free if you got a Netflix account.
Only Netflix.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, because it's a Netflix original. Yeah. So, Netflix original. If you don't got Netflix, borrow a friend's. I don't know. But yeah, there's a few ghost stories about Ted Bundy that I had just, like, not really big ones, just, like, really kind of weird and interesting ones that I was like, huh. Like, I wonder, like, it prompted me to look, just because I'm like, Ted Bundy done killed so many people, and he, like, just legit seemed like he didn't want to die because of what he did at the end of his life. So I'm like, he has to be a ghost. There's no way he's not trying to sit around and haunt, like, not haunt, but, you know, like, trying to make sure that he's still known, make sure that he's not forgotten. So I saw a few things, but, you know, I don't really watch Ghost Adventures, but off of listening to different podcasts, I've grown a dislike for Zach Baggins. But I'm only biased because I have not watched the show. I feel like maybe if I watched it, I might like him. But so far, just hearing the things that he does, like provoking ghosts and shit, pisses me off.
He's crazy. He is absolutely crazy. But he found out that, you know, that's how he gets results. And like at the end of each episode, he's always very respectful. But he's somebody who wants results.
But you don't think it's fabricated at least a little bit? Because I feel like even this, like, I'll go into it, but even this, I'm like, how did you get so lucky? You know, like, how do you get so lucky every time? Like, there has to be some instances where you're not getting reactions for hours on end or even nothing.
Yeah, there definitely were a few episodes where, like, nothing was happening the whole time. A lot of his earlier episodes, he would have, like, nothing happen. And I think because of the crazy stuff that he has done, like, he literally went to a quote-unquote witch, was a woman who was practicing, like, Wicca?
Yeah.
And had her invoke the spirit of a sinister witch into his body.
What?
That was the weirdest episode. He was just lying on the floor, and it was in front of this furnace that I guess was, like, either where she died or, like, where she lived. And they were doing, like, a spell to bring the witch to him to, like, have her possess him or whatever, pretty much. And there were a few times where he would go into, like, buildings and be, like, taken over by the spirits that were in the building. And, like, I know people are like, oh, you know, you can easily fabricate that or whatever, but sometimes I'm like, yeah, and the other times I'm like, you can clearly see the change in his character if you've, like, watched him a lot. And, like, his friends or whatever that are there, they're like, bro, what is wrong with you? Are you okay? They're, like, off camera, like, And there was one time they went into, like, an abandoned prison or something, and Zach just staring at the camera in, like, night vision. He's just staring, not blinking. And I think it was Aaron who was behind the camera. Aaron was like, are you okay, bro? And he wouldn't answer. So they were like, all right, we got to get Zach out of here. And they get him outside, and as soon as they get him outside, he was like, he's breathing, he's blinking. He's like, I was just so angry. I wanted to kill you. And Aaron was like, what? He's like, I don't know what happened. Like, I was doing this, and then all of a sudden I just felt all this anger. And then he kind of, like, blacked out. Like, he does so many weird things that messes up or invites spirits to move through him, pretty much. And that's why I think that, like, he gets the reactions that he does, because he might be a little possessed. He might have some demons in there with him.
See, it's like, I'm always partially skeptical, especially about some of these shows. Like, I do feel like sometimes they're just like, okay, this is bullshit. Other times I'm like, well, maybe. So maybe I should just watch a few episodes myself. But just, like, you know, I have less trust in the TV shows, because I'm like, even when when mediums are interviewed for this stuff, or, like, people who have that sort of supernatural ability to, like, talk to ghosts or see them or, like, get possessed by them, half of them will say, that shit don't happen. That shit don't happen that often. You literally have to be, like, the most weak type of individual for it to happen so quickly. And that's why I'm just like, I don't know. But, you know, you never know. Maybe somebody's psychic ability is stronger than other people's. You never know. So I was just like, I ain't gonna say too much about him, but just based off of the podcast, I'm like, I don't like this man. But yeah, I talked too long about this man. I was about to say the wrong word on here. So I'm just going to get into it. So in 2019, Ghost Adventures filmed a 4-episode miniseries called Ghost Adventures, Serial Killer Spirits, where they track down the ghost of H.H. Holmes, John Wayne Gacy, who scares the shit out of me, Jake Bird, and of course Ted Bundy. So they did, like, basically what you said, like, just insane things to provoke the ghosts, like lock themselves in pitch black closets and just be like, hey, are you guys here? Like, of course something's gonna come out, you ass. But it was all backed up with research into the serial killers themselves, as they pointed out that these serial killers would all often talk about feeling possessed by another entity. Mm-hmm. So they made sure to ask basically specific questions about like what entity was possessing you or what happened when you killed such and such person. Like they did their research or whatever on it to make sure that they could provoke the ghost from coming out, or the spirits, or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And all of that, those 4 episodes led up to the final episode, which was Ted Bundy's ritual house. That's where Ted Bundy abducted 17-year-old Deborah Kent at a parking lot in Bountiful, Utah. He later admitted that he took Kent back to his home, where he kept her for a period of about 24 hours, but no one knows where he actually murdered her, only that her remains were found decades later buried in Fruit Heights, Utah. And locals claim that Bundy killed Kent at that now abandoned house, 100 feet away from the parking lot where she was abducted, which also happens to be a known place for satanic rituals. But it's like, there was nowhere.
See, this man is lazy.
But there was nowhere, like, anytime I tried to search Ted Bundy ritual house where in Bountiful, Utah, nothing came up. So I'm like, where did they get this from?
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, I'm like, where did they get that this was the house that he, like, kept her? Or this is the house nearby where people are now doing satanic rituals there because they think, like, oh, the demonic energy over there because Ted Bundy killed this girl or whatever, let's use this house. Where did they get that from? I don't know. And that's part of the reason why I was skeptical about this story, because I was just like, I can't find it. Maybe I'm not typing in the right search words. My search engine optimization is not on point anymore from my old job. But I'm just like, I can't find it. But anyway, during their investigation, Baggins had claimed it felt like a portal to hell in there. There were satanic symbols everywhere. There was no electricity in the house, but their electromagnetic field readings were everywhere. And like I said, I take these ghost hunting shows with a grain of salt, but I could see how you would feel some energy there, at the very least because there's satanic rituals going there. But I don't see how it was tied to Ted Bundy. So I may have to watch it on my own. So if any of you have watched it already, y'all tell me what the fuck happened in the episode so I don't have to. But like, I may just watch it on my own just to see how exactly they tied that to Ted Bundy. Besides the fact that, yeah, I'm like, besides the fact that it was 100 feet away from the lot. It's like, what is the proof that he took her to that house specifically, and why it's being used for satanic rituals now? Is it just that it's nearby? I don't know. But aside from that, there are several other like instances, whether you believe in it or not, that Ted Bundy has been seen. And this motherfucker travels, apparently. He doesn't just stay in one spot. He haunts other places. Ugh. So there's local legend that people often see his white Volkswagen on the lot of Viewmont High, where he kidnapped Deborah Kent. But then it vanishes. However, there's no like actual first-hand accounts, so take with that what you will, too, because I didn't find that anywhere either. It's just a sort of like that local legend that just spreads, but nobody actually from the high school said, hey, I saw his Volkswagen. Like, nobody said that. This is the most well-known because the next one that I'm about to say is the most well-known because there are many first-hand accounts. But there's one main one that he's like, no, like, I saw this shit. In 2001, a guard from the Florida State Prison where Bundy spent his final days told a reporter after Bundy was put to death that several guards saw his ghost sitting casually on the electric chair. The guard described Bundy's expression as a knowing smile, as if he knew something about the afterlife they didn't. And if a guard tried to approach him, he'd just disappear, which is, like, so fucking on brand. The guard also said that there were so many sightings at one point that the warden couldn't find anyone willing to enter the execution chamber alone. Like, they just would not. Like, if they had to walk past it, they always walked with a buddy. They were like, I'm not doing this by myself. And even then, they still saw.
But you shouldn't, because it's an execution chamber.
My thing is, why would you linger there? But then somebody said, it was to be an asshole, basically, that he showed up around his holding cell on death row shouting to some guards, well, I beat all of you, didn't I? And they assumed he meant beating them to the other side, which is where that's why they're saying, oh, he knows something they don't know.
I take it as like he finally got to where they can't get to him anymore, but he can still be like, you can't catch me.
Right. That, and also like the first, because I thought about that after, but the first thought that I had was like, is he saying he beat them, meaning like because he, like, if you believe in hell, that if you repent for your sins, you're able to now make it to heaven? But I'm like, no, you're still haunting. Like, you're in the in-between. So that wouldn't make sense. But that was my first thought.
Yeah, no, he ain't going nowhere.
Right. He's just, yeah. But the next one was that he's also been seen around the Chi Omega sorority house on the porch of the building in Tallahassee, where he'd rented a room under a false name. So, I don't know what they've seen, but they just saw, like, I guess he was just sitting there on the porch. And they were like, that looks like, wait a minute, that looks like Ted Bundy. But, again, there's no first-hand accounts for that one either. It's just another local legend type of thing.
Of course.
The weirdest one was when Lily Collins, who played Liz in the movie, said that the longtime girlfriend, I'm reading, that in an interview with The Guardian, she revealed that the project got so heavy that she started waking up at 3:05 a.m. every night during pre-production. Now, you know what the fuck that is. The witching hour. So that's weird. So she said, after doing some research, she came to believe that her wake-up calls were the result of the ghosts of Bundy's many victims visiting her at night and trying to make contact. So she said, I started being woken up by flashes of images like the aftermath of a struggle. I discovered that 3 a.m. is the time when the veil between the realms is the thinnest and one can be visited. That's when she came to believe the details about ghosts. But she also added that it was less of a haunting and more of a heartening interaction, she called it. Like, she felt like they were, like, thanking her for displaying her side of the story and their sides of the story, I guess, and not just sensationalizing Ted Bundy in the movie. Like, they made it clear that he was completely manipulating Liz the entire time, and that he did these terrible crimes and was not trying to pay for it for the longest. He just kept trying to evade justice.
Yeah.
So she feels like they were just thanking her for, like, oh, you didn't create this movie to just glorify him.
To make him look good.
Yeah. So I kind of get that. If that's what she feel was happening, it could have been happening. Like, maybe they were thanking her. But she said, I didn't feel scared. I felt supported. I felt like people were saying, we're here listening. We're here to support. Thank you for telling this story. Yeah, there wasn't much else about Ted Bundy ghosts. Just like mainly local legends, but that, I feel like that one with Lily Collins and the guards at the Florida State Prison, those seem like the most like that shit happened. Because how are you just like, where would you think of that? You know, like just to say every night at 3:05 a.m. I've been waking up and for some reason, like, just every time I keep dreaming about that stuff that he did. Or, like, the guard saying, yeah, I saw him in the holding cell and I saw him in the electric chair. Like, why would you think to say that? What do you get out of that? Nothing. Yeah. I feel like that, you know, I could see a high school spreading rumors about, like, trying to create an urban legend, like, yeah, Ted Bundy's car, I saw it, like that type of shit. Or Chi Omega, you know, college campuses are rampant with ghost stories, so I could see them also sensationalizing that, like, oh yeah, I saw him on the porch of the building that he tried to hide out in, like, you know. But those two accounts, those seem real.
Yeah, and it's like real eerie.
Yeah, I
'Cause I'm
got
like, even though, like, you know, she interpreted the quote unquote visitations from the victims as like a good thing, I would still be scared. I'd
Yeah,
be
I'm like,
can y'all not?
yeah, because she said I wasn't scared, but I'm like, even so, if you're trying to tell me like, oh, thanks, I'm still gonna be scared as fuck. That why? I know I'm doing the movie, but why at 3:05? Why at 3 a.m. every
Y'all
morning?
couldn't wake me up at like 10.
Right.
It's a night.
Because then I'm gonna just think I'm just dreaming because I'm playing this role. But the fact that I'm waking up at 3 a.m. every time would creep me the fuck out.
Yeah. Because I had a period in time where, like, for whatever reason, I would always get up at like 4:30 in the morning.
Same.
And I was like, why 4:30? And then it really hit me because, like, it was around the time where I was like first getting into astrology or whatever. So I'm constantly looking at my birth stuff because I wanted to, like, you know, pinpoint my exact sign and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it said that I was born at like 4:30 in the morning on a Thursday.
That's so weird.
Yeah, and I was like, is there a connection? And I am like the truest night owl. Like, that's why I work night shift, because even without it, I'd be staying up to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning on my own anyway.
Mm.
So I was like, there's something, like, I don't know what it is, but there's just something about being woken up in that time frame, like, just before the sun comes up.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
There's not really that much on Bundy besides, well, I know they have, Netflix has just put out a series about, it's called The Bundy Tapes. I saw it today when I was, like, looking.
That came out
through it.
recently? Why did I think that came out before?
I don't know, but if it did come out before, it was my first time seeing it there, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I think it might have come, because I think that's the one that I watched right after watching the movie. Because I had already heard the story of Ted Bundy. Like, who doesn't know that story?
Yeah.
But it's just, I had watched that because I wanted to know more about it. Because I only knew, like, the basic details. I don't know what the fuck that was, but it scared me. But, yeah, I think I got more creeped out by the documentary because, tell me if it's the same one, but they started playing the voice recordings of him.
It should be, yeah.
Yeah, that shit, I don't know why, but it creeped me out. I had goosebumps the whole time I heard him talking. And I was just like...
okay. It came out in 2019, but for whatever reason, it's trending now.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it, like, popped up to me.
That's so weird that it's trending now.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it? That's so crazy.
He knows.
Right.
It's so annoying to me. But, like, watching the documentary was what got me. Like, because they used a lot of, like, the actual footage and, like, you could hear the audacity.
Yeah.
In the room. It just... anything to do with Ted Bundy, I'm like, no.
Right.
Because I've never felt so much anger in my life than when I was watching that documentary. And I've watched tons of documentaries, tons of movies about serial killers. Know so much information about serial killers, but him in particular makes me the most angry.
Yeah, I think it's because, like you said, it's the audacity. Like, because, you know, other ones, not that their crimes are any less brutal, because BTK Killer did some crazy shit too. And Jeffrey Dahmer, of course, he's fucking insane. Richard Ramirez, all of them.
Ed Gein.
Right. They're all insane. But the thing about them was that they never, I mean, not that they never, but BTK Killer, in my head right now, I think, as far as like what I'm thinking right now, I might be missing some people, but BTK was probably the only one that just kind of did the same charming act that I know of right now.
Yeah. I feel like he let the community speak for him.
Yeah. Like, he never tried to, he might have, you know, gaslighted the fuck out of his family.
Yeah.
But it's like he never, from the accounts that they talk about in any of the documentaries or anything, they never made it seem like he was like, oh no, I would never do anything like that. Blah, blah, blah. He's just, Once they caught him, he was just like, all right, I'll tell you everything.
Laying out the facts.
Right.
This is what happened.
And it's just like a regular day to him. He doesn't give a fuck. But Ted Bundy sitting here, what? Why would I do that? I'm such a great, amazing guy. I went to law school. Harvard at that. How you trying to tell me?
I've never heard this madness. Like, okay, you're representing yourself, but you're going to take the shackles off of this man because now he's a lawyer?
I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious?
I couldn't do it. I couldn't even imagine what it was like to sit in that courtroom. Like, they may as well have been playing, like, carnival music or something the whole time because that's what it was.
Oh, I said Harvard. No, he went to University of Utah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, where did I get Harvard from? I think Harvard just on my brain because we was talking about the black girl earlier, Gabby Thomas.
People think he went to Harvard.
Yeah. I mean, because when I think of Harvard, no offense to Harvard grads, but y'all be obnoxious as fuck about how y'all graduated from there. It's very annoying.
A lot of y'all people who graduated from any college are obnoxious like that. And it's okay.
I will admit, I'm a little obnoxious about the fact that I went to Howard. If anybody ever asked me, I'm Howard University.
See, we're like 6 episodes in, and you hear she's got to mention she graduated Howard. See, she couldn't wait to do that.
Nope, because it's the Mecca. Anyway.
But yeah.
It annoys the fuck out of me that he just had so much audacity to lie, but then also be like, I never would do such a thing. I would never. And lie about it for so long up until his death. And just all of a sudden, I confess, I don't want to go to hell. Hold on. Let me tell you, I killed this girl here. This girl here. Like, come on, bro.
Part of me wonders if it's like, if at some point everything hit him and like he didn't have Elizabeth anymore and he was just like, you know what, whatever, nothing matters. And then he just said everything. Or if it was like a, no, it definitely was like a, I want my redemption or whatever.
Yeah,
thing.
It was out of selfishness. Because I'm like, and this is why, like, I hate when people say, oh, he's, like, crazy. He's mentally insane. He's not mentally insane. He knew exactly what he had sound mind to hide it. He had sound mind to manipulate her and make sure that she didn't know anything. He had sound mind to, like, lie to these people and say, like, I'm injured. Create a whole scenario where he's injured and doing all, like, just creating all these scenarios where he can just kidnap these women, torture them, and kill them.
Yeah.
So it's just like, he's not insane. He knew what the fuck he was doing. He just gets some sick kick out of it. Just like, what's that fucking man's name? We just did the story on him. That sick motherfucker that I was talking about.
The BTK?
No, from Abducted in Plain Sight, B. Robert something. I'm mad I forgot that fast.
I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about, though.
Yeah.
The alien guy.
Yeah, and it's almost like that audacity. Like, you know you're not insane because you have enough knowledge to know that you need to hide this and that you don't want to get caught.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like... I think I kind of somewhat separate BTK killer and, like, other people, other serial killers, because... It's kind of like what they said in the documentary, or just, studies on him in general, that he legit does not know that he's separating the two lives. He has this one side of him, and then he has this other side of him. He does not think that either one of these will ever meet.
Yeah.
Or ever conflict, or ever mess him up. He's just like, I do this, it's fine. And I do this, it's also fine.
Mm-hmm.
But Ted Bundy? No. He just thought he was slick.
He really just, he was, living GTA. Because he would just go, kill somebody, and then continue about his day like he didn't just kill someone.
Right.
He's smiling at everybody's face, hugging, kissing people. and you just murdered like 2 people.
Yeah, out partying and shit. Like,
at the club.
Yo, you're
the sorority house. Like, bro.
Annoying.
I think that's what makes it worse.
Yeah, that he's just like, whatever. Like, I got this. I'm out. I'm free. Nobody's gonna catch me. He's just so narcissistic and full of himself. He's like, I'm gonna get out of this. Even at trial when he's cheesing, like, yeah, I got myself out of this one. No, you didn't, sir. You're going to death.
Too much.
But yeah, that's all we got. Thank you for tuning in for our 7th episode. We're slowly approaching our 10th, and it feels like we did way more than that, but
it does. That's why I was like, I don't want to say a number because I'm not sure, but
yeah, it's our 7th. But yeah, we want to continue to see our community grow within the Foot Off the Bed podcast. You know, maybe eventually we'll have a Discord chat or a Facebook group or something, you know, like something where we can talk to you guys and be communal and talk about murder and shit, whatever. And spooky stuff. Cause like, it's crazy to me that we have like listeners in New Jersey, in Maryland, in Ohio, in Seattle.
Oh my God. What?
In Colorado, in Germany, in Italy, in Brazil, like, subtle brag, but
oh my God, I didn't know all that.
Yeah, like I be looking at the stats like not every day, but almost every day, because I'm just like, I find it so interesting that people just found us. Like, how did you find us? How? Because we just started this shit, but we're getting listeners, and
that's so cool.
They're growing every day. We're almost close to 200 listeners, and we're only on our 7th episode. It's kind of crazy.
That's really
but
awesome.
Yeah, I want to keep seeing that, and I want to know what you guys want to hear. I want to know, like, we want to know what you want to hear. What do you want as far as like special perks? And if you don't know what Patreon is, like, Patreon is just sort of like a GoFundMe for artists alike. Like, if you're a music artist, if you paint, if you do sculptures, if you craft stuff, if you do jewelry, anything for artists, basically. Podcasts. A lot of podcasts are on Patreon. Mm-hmm. And you can pay monthly fees to just get special bonus content from us. And we want to keep doing that. We also don't ever want to have ads on this because I hate hearing ads on some of my favorite podcasts. So, you know, like, if you have the price of what's $3? 3 Arizonas. 3 Arizona iced tea. You can even start off that small. $3 a month, whatever. But only if you can. If you are unable to support us that way, you know, there's other ways to support us. You can share us on Instagram. You can talk about us to your friends. You can do whatever. Just any way that you can support us is fine. But if you'd like to monetarily support us, it's patreon.com/footoffthebedpodcast.
Yeah.
But we'll also leave it in the show notes for you.
And yeah, you can like follow us on like Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Yeah.
At Foot Off the Bed. And hopefully we'll get more content out. Oh, and TikTok as well, the Foot Off the Bed. I have to actually get onto that. But when I tell you this weekend was insane, it was insane.
Yeah.
So
it's been a few rough kind of weeks.
It's been so. You know what's crazy is that like when you say you're gonna leave a place, suddenly everything becomes 100 times more chaotic.
Yep.
And it's like you feel like you're in like a rat race to the finish, pretty much. And you know what's crazy is my supervisor still hasn't said anything since I sent her my resignation. So I'm like, I'm gonna be out on Friday.
Yeah, I haven't even.
You haven't said a word to me besides good morning. So I'm like, okay.
Right.
Because I'm gonna walk out here.
But that's the thing about toxic job environments is that they take it as a personal offense that you're leaving. It's like, no, bitch, I'm leaving because it's my right to, and also because I deserve to.
For me, it is personal. It's both. It's both.
No, but I mean, like, it's not a personal shot to you alone that I'm leaving. It's everything. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. But I feel like even same situation with you. She just I haven't seen her since I quit. She has not come in. I guess she stopped showing up on Saturdays when I normally see her, and I haven't even heard anything from her supervisor, who has known me for like 3 years.
Oh my god.
Has
See,
not
the same amount of time.
Yeah, has not said a word, has not said, "Oh, it was nice having you. You know, I didn't see you that often, but whatever. Have a good one, blah blah blah." Like nothing. No, nothing. So, yeah, I'm not going to say it on these airways. Never mind. I was going to, but I was like, I'm about to start a new job. Let me relax. But just never work in the customer service industry. I'll just say that. But yeah, also you can leave us a review anywhere you listen. If you listen on our website, you know, I guess you can email us and tell us we suck or you like us, whatever you want to do. Our email is footoffthebed@gmail.com. And if you have any like story suggestions, just email us, DM us, wherever. We got one girl who just like constantly sends memes and videos all the time and says like, "Oh, I like that story, blah, blah, blah. Y'all should talk about that." Like, you know, you can do that. We'll answer.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, you've been listening to Foot Off the Bed podcast. Remember to lock your doors and stay inside.
And don't leave your foot off the bed.